imagine a scenario where you walk in your local comic book store, ask the person to order a comic for you because they don't have it in the store, and they say no. You ask them why, and they reply, "Because I don't like that book." This may actually be the future that we are facing in the comic book industry, refusing to fulfill a customer's order because of their own personal preference. Yes, we are talking about the Diversity and Comics controversy with Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. Now, for those of you who don't know, you are about to be fully updated on this whole entire situation. Strap into your seats. Diversity and Comics is a YouTube channel, much like mine, only they strictly review and criticize comic books, new comic books. Some of them are positive reviews, actually, and some of them are negative reviews. Mainly because Diversity in Comics is generally against SJW propaganda, and when he reviews a comic book, a new comic book, with SJW propaganda in it, he points it out and he criticizes them for it. He says it's bad. He doesn't like how they view diversity in comics. They simply disagree on how things should be done. And a lot of people follow this channel, donate to his Patreon, but after a while, the people who wrote these comics started getting a little bit upset with him. They said, "Oh, you're a failed comic artist. If you think you can do it better, why don't you come up with your own comic, and we'll watch it fail." Guess what he did? He made his own comic! So he teamed up with a bunch of these really, really good artists, and he made a comic called Jawbreaker's Lost Souls, and started an IndieGoGo for it, with I think a goal of $5,000 or something like that. And of course he never stopped making his YouTube videos. He's still to this day criticizing other people's comics, and they're still not happy about it. They're even more unhappy about is that the IndieGoGo is successful. It's doing quite well. So how do they respond to this? They decide, oh, let's team up together to try to defame Diversity in Comics. So naturally, they started spreading the rumors about how he's Nazi, homophobe, transphobe, everything down the list. And this isn't coming from, like, your usual trolls, guys. This isn't normal trolls on the internet. These are the comic writers that he was criticizing. These are the people who are creating the new comics from, like, the SJW Marvel. Like, this is insane. These are adults. Michelle Perez, in particular, just openly threatens him on Twitter and claims that he went to jail for domestic abuse or that he was dishonorably discharged from the military. Both of which, untrue, immediately debunked. This was only the tip of the iceberg. The real problem was Mark Waid. What did Mark Waid do to make all this worse? Well, he heard that Antarctic Press was going to be publishing Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. So what does he do? He openly says publicly, "I'm gonna have to give these people a call and tell them what they're doing here. And what they're doing here is something I don't like. I'm going to discourage them to publish Jawbreakers." And essentially what ended up happening is the Antarctic Press ended up being horrifically harassed until finally surrendering and saying, "Okay, fine, we're not going to publish Jawbreaker's Lost Souls." And they never said that Mark Waid was the cause of it. But Mark Waid himself said, "Yeah, I did that." Yee. It's really messed up that someone who's really done nothing wrong is being treated so poorly by a community that's supposed to be so accepting of everyone. That's what they claim. They claim, oh, we're so diverse, we're accepting of everyone in every culture, in every aspect of humanity, but then they just completely reject a new comic writer, not only trying to reject him from the comic community in general, but purposely, actively trying to prevent his business from growing, trying to prevent people from getting their hands on this book, almost like they're afraid that once the SJWs like read Jawbreaker's Lost Soul, they're just gonna convert. And I did hear that he was going to put a complaint in for all their shenanigans, so that's good. So after all that defaming, all that horrendous harassment that this poor guy has been going through, you might start to wonder, okay, how has this affected his IndieGoGo? How has this affected his sales? Well, That is a lot more than he was originally asking for, guys. 3,867% funded. Essentially, everything that they did, they were just shooting themselves in the foot. Because I guess people are smart enough to do their own research and realize that this guy is just trying to be an independent author doing his own thing rather than falling in line. Another important thing to point out, this comic is apolitical. There is no politics in it. There's no weird allegory to it. It's just these G.I. Joe looking motherfuckers beating up a big giant gorilla. A team of ex-superheroes attempt to save a monster from a vicious warlord who wants to exploit it. Oh man, he must be a Trump supporter! And to be fair, even if this was, like, pro-Republican, even if it was some kind of, like, parody like My Hero Macadamia, these SJW writers, this, like, new Marvel we have going on here, like, all of it is just Democratic propaganda. Like, who are you to judge? You're doing the same thing. Like, how can you claim this is our enemy while also being your enemy? Now, I am one of the people who think that overall politics should probably stay out of comics. Either stay out of it or be in the background. Like, I'm okay if you want to throw in, like, a little bit of political thing, mainly because of political bias. It's not like it's something that will make you reflect on politics, but rather telling you what you should believe in when it comes to politics. And that's what turns people off, because the fact of the matter is, these new comics that these SJW writers are coming out with, they're not selling. People don't like them. People want more of this, like, independent stuff, something that's not afraid to not be political, to not send some kind of message. Something where it's just like, I don't know, a bunch of buff guys beating up a gorilla. Basically, you want story above politics. You can't create a story with the intention of spreading a political message. Otherwise, it shows. It shows to your readers, and that's bad. There's some people out there who also believe diversity in comics is alt-right and is all these things that these writers are saying that he is. I know that Mark Waid has said a couple times that he is a serial harasser, even though he does the exact opposite of what Mark Waid said he does. Even though he literally said, no, don't harass these people. Don't even contact these people. But regardless, they still blame diversity in comics and his influence. Look, everyone has influence over everyone. It's ridiculous to say just because you influence someone means that you're responsible for all their actions. He's not responsible for anything that these people do. If they do it, it's of their own free will. You know, free will, that thing that humans have. And people might mention, oh, but what about this one incident in this comic book shop that got broken into and robbed right after they said they wouldn't carry jawbreakers in their store? That clearly has something to do with it. It clearly was one of his fans who was angry. There was a news story about it, which is how I first heard about it when it happened. And I was like, wait a minute. Basically, the store owner said, yeah, that was definitely his fault. That was definitely one of his fans. It can't be a coincidence. I know there's actually controversy going around on YouTube over that whole incident because it is kind of a weird incident. What happened is, it's the classic glass door, they throw a rock through it and then, like, open the door type thing. No security system, no cameras, nothing. Just a glass door that's just begging for a rock to be thrown through it. And they didn't steal any comics or any merchandise throughout the store. All they stole was money from the register. So people started, like, coming up with all these crazy theories like, oh, it's the store owner who stole it. It's an inside job. I'm not sure if I actually believe that. I'm not completely throwing it out of the ballpark. I mean, I've seen some crazy people do some crazy things. I personally think that the fact that they didn't steal any merchandise only goes to show that it definitely was not a diversity in comics fan, because why wouldn't a comics fan steal comic merchandise? The fact that you had a glass door, no security system, you were just begging to be broken into at some point in your life. I'm not really saying it was their fault they were broken into, but you should have known it was going to happen eventually. To be honest, it just sounds like a common thief who was just doing it for the money on the inside. They didn't care about comic books. They probably didn't even know there was any controversy around comic book not being sold there. It is probably just pure coincidence, and the fact that they didn't steal any comic book merchandise just kind of supports that theory, that it was just pure coincidence. They were just going for the money. They just thought, oh, there's no security system, it's a glass door, I can just throw a rock through it. And then they took the money. Well, for me personally, someone who does want to get into the comic book industry, wants to create their own comic books, maybe illustrate stuff, now I can't be let in because the industry has become a club. Now you have to be this SJW to get inside. And even more so recently, now it's not even like you can self-publish your stuff. You have to be this SJW to self-publish now. Otherwise, we'll boycott it and convince stores to not sell it. Now, of course, all of this controversy has only helped the IndieGoGo. It's only making Diversity in Comics more money. Why, you say? Well, because now people are scared they won't be able to get the book when it comes out. So instead, they're going straight to the IndieGoGo, and they're paying the $20 to make sure that they get it ordered to them. But this isn't just about Jawbreaker's Lost Souls. This is about all future comic book writers. Will they also have to face all this bullcrap? Will I not be able to get into the industry because I don't fall in line with their beliefs, regardless of whether or not I'm making a comic that's political? Really, this entire harassment campaign against Richard has just been childish. It's like they don't know how to deal with people who are different than them, which is ironic considering they keep on saying that they're so accepting of different people and different cultures. But in order for it to change, we can't have comic book shops refusing to sell something that's controversial, refusing to just order the book for someone who asks for it. They're your customers. You're supposed to give them what they want. If this is in high demand, get it. Give it to them. Push that product. I really am sick of all these progressive people saying, oh, if you like the original of all these comic books, then you're A through Z and you encourage stagnation and you're just a bad person. Why should we, as customers, be afraid to say what we want when we want something? You're the supplier. I'm the customer. I say what I want, and you give it to me. And I give you money in return so that you can live and feed your children. That's kind of how this works. And I really do think that these SJW writers are just bad business people. Like, they never took a business school in their life, essentially, because everything they've done has just helped diversity in comics. And whenever they're faced with criticism that they don't like, they always revert back to, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Well, that's true for us, but it shouldn't be true for you. You are encouraging your own business to go out of business. You are saying, yes, please don't buy my stuff. Please don't give me money. Please don't help me feed my starving kids. Do you really think that's going to help you be successful? What they should do instead is take the criticism, realize what they're doing wrong, change what they're doing wrong, and then hooray, people will buy your comics. Trying to push something that we clarified that we didn't want from the get-go is not going to work. Not for either of us. You can't force someone to like something that they don't. And Diversity in Comics has been saying this from the beginning. Hey, if you really want to beat me, then just make better comics. Just sell more. They told you what you want. All you have to do is listen to them. Here's praying that we're going to see change in the near future. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Program restart.